Yes, it's a morning of recovery here on the Shelter FootyCast, live from BackChat Studios. We've come back from Busselton, a live showdown at the Shelter Brewery. Mark Reddings, Will Schofield, we are alive and, well, probably not.
Hello, Scoey. Yeah, 3 sleeps to go before the footy season, and last night I slept like a genius after you and I went out to dinner, and I probably overindulged, but that was just... I think I preloaded at home, which probably got me in trouble. Well, that's a different story for a different time. Thanks to all those folk that came out at the shelter last Thursday, stayed at the beautiful Hilton, hospitality to all the team down there. Magnificent, really good time.
Show, wasn't it?
It was good fun, a lot of engagement. I was surprised at the numbers, as you said.
Skeet, I thought there might have been 5 people down there. I'm telling you, Skeet, people do listen to this podcast.
I thought they might have just got lost and just wandered in inadvertently to listen to us, because I certainly wouldn't be listening to us.
Very good. Shelter FootyCast on Instagram. You can follow us over there. That's going to be important for today's show. We've got a couple of things to get through here, so you need to know Shelter FootyCast on Instagram. FootyCast at shelterbrewing.com.au. You can send us an email there, or FootyCast at backchatstudios.com.au. If you want to get involved in the show, we had great engagement down south, and you can listen to that podcast back. It was a bonus episode on Friday morning. We had great engagement. So if you want to get involved in our week-to-week show, you can send us an email or hit us up on Instagram. Now, Skeeter, importantly, I butchered something on Thursday.
You're owning it.
Yeah, correct. I'm absolutely owning it. I butchered not the delivery. I think the giveaway we're doing this year is clear, right? 2 tickets on the West Coast Eagles charter plane to their away games, plus 2 tickets to the game, right? I think people get that. It's a big giveaway. I think I left out a few details on how to actually enter that giveaway.
On the Q code.
Which is not the Q code. Not the Q code. So what you need to do, if you would like 2 tickets on the West Coast Eagles plane, that's right, with the players, to the Port Adelaide game coming up in 2 weeks' time, you can enter on our social media, Shelter FootyCast on Instagram. There's a link in the bio. Put your email, put your name, and put the code word. Now, the code word was in Friday's show, Skeeter.
Pretty self-explanatory given what we do.
That's exactly right. You don't have to think too much for this code word, but it is in the show, and I'm not going to give it again in this show, but you'll need the code word, your email, and your first name. That's how you enter. You can enter on the Instagram, Shelter FootyCast, or you can jump on our website, backchatstudios.com.au. Little pop-up will come up, and you can enter there too. You need to be following Shelter FootyCast, Travel and Sports Australia on Instagram as well, and have the code word. And then you're good to go. We've got some entries. I'm giving you one more chance on this Monday to enter.
Why would you have a crack at it? I mean, throw at the stumps. I mean, 2 tickets to go and see Eagles Port Adelaide and with the team. So this isn't just randomly rock up at the ground. This is a really good prize, and it's done every fortnight with the West Coast Eagles. And you'll come out with something from Fremantle, hopefully, in the not-too-distant future. But, yeah, great. Thanks to Tassa. Go and support the team, because they are the experts in sport and travel.
That is exactly right. Now, Skeeter, let's get into the big moments of the weekend. I don't think we have to look further past this one. There was only one real big one. It's practice matches. Teams are getting ready. You don't see a lot of incidents. We had Sam Pepper last week, but you don't really see big-time plays. There was a huge one in the St Kilda game on the weekend, St Kilda North Melbourne. Yeah,
Jimmy Webster, who left the ground. I mean, if you've seen the vision, it's self-explanatory. It was a brain fade. It's simple as that. And Josh Simpkin taken from the field, concussed, and that's now going to end up at a tribunal hearing. And if Sam Pepper gets 4 weeks, which he did, I thought that was almost like making an example of the type of standard they're setting for the AFL this year with regards to head-high contact, because I didn't think he did that with any degree of malice or provocation to try and physically target Mark Keane. This one was different. This is a guy that's he's given himself. Bear in mind, Barry Hall got 7 weeks for belting Brent Staker back in 2008.
Andrew Gaff got 8.
Andrew got 8. This, I think, will be comfortably, although it's not a punch, this is comfortably in that territory, 7 to 8. Everyone, and David King's calling for 10, but this is not going to be a 4-weeker. This has to be more than Sam Pepper and maybe double.
The malice, and I've seen social media's been going nuts about this, right? So, number one, he's going to get massive weeks and should. Can I just say that? But number two, the malice and intention. I don't know Jimmy Webster. I do know things happen on the footy field, and I'm not defending this action. And I said the same thing about Sampel Pepper, and I'll probably say the same thing about most. He needs to be punished severely because we can't have this in the game. And then it's very clear the AFL's gone down this route. But even just watching it, you can tell this isn't an action that we can go, maybe got that one slightly wrong. Not saying that, but I don't think he's it's
not a thug.
Dog act, and it's I've seen a lot of that though, and I just don't think. It happens fast.
And right? I would say the timing, and you're 100%. I think, we're giving him the penalty, but you're right. At that, everything happens.
It happens very fast. In saying that, I think it is 8 to 10 weeks.
Yeah.
So it's late. It is high and deliberate. Like it is 2 feet off the ground, so he's jumped. There is not another player in sight, so he hasn't had to run around another player yet. Jai Simpkins not getting slung anywhere. He is upright with the footy. The decision is clear. Like, I'm going to physically impact this bloke, and I'm beeline him. So there's not, sometimes some of those you can use in your defence. Oh, it was at the same time he was kicking it, or so I had to run around someone I didn't have clear view. There couldn't be one. There's not one part of defence for this, so he's going to have to cop what he gets. I think it's got to be 8 weeks, like at a minimum.
Yeah, and that's, now again, bear in mind this was a pre-season match, which it defies logic that he would be having that type of attitude. But you can't just turn on and turn off when you show aggression, etc. It's the nature of the beast.
This is exactly why last week I was talking about outcome and action. I don't know if these big suspensions would stop Jimmy Webster doing what he did, because I don't think it's a thug act. I think it's a horrible misjudgment of whatever he was trying to do. Is it dumb? Yes. Is it complete malice?
It's reckless. It's careless.
I don't think there's one player out running around the AFL that's trying to injure someone's head or cause them long-term damage. Jai Simpkin here, we haven't spoken about it. This is multiple concussions. He had 2 last year. His after seeing what Angus Brayshaw, he's going to have to seriously consider how long he sits out of the game. That's a really big issue for him. I don't think Jimmy Webster or anyone else is running around going, well, I'm going to cause grief to Jai Simpkin. So I just don't know these big suspensions. I don't know if it's going to change behaviour. The more I think about it, the more I think I'm an absolute genius, Skeeter. I think...
So hang on, the more you think about it, the more I think I'm an absolute genius. That is so scoey.
Clip that up. Put it on the start of the intro. I think you got to put huge fines in place. I think
monetary.
I think the back pocket would have a big impact on Jimmy Webster's decision making before the event. I think if he's running out there game day and goes and him or anyone else knows that if he does that, he's copping a $40,000 fine. You're not doing it. There's just no way. You're not making that decision. It will change people's behaviour.
So does that follow a bit of what happens in American sport?
Absolutely.
With regards to more the monetary as opposed to the...
Absolutely.
So they weight the monetary side?
They suspend them for games, but like there's huge... And we got to have it, it can't be NFL fines.
It's all relative.
It needs to be relative. But I think in terms of decision making, I don't think being suspended impacts players as much as the back pocket would.
Well, I suppose you get your match payments, etc.
Okay.
No,
because players get paid while they're suspended.
Yep.
Right. But if I said to you, driving, right?
I was thinking the exact same analogy to say, okay, I lose 5 points, but don't lose financially much.
Yeah, but you run a red light and you get a $20,000 fine. I reckon you're stopping at the red light.
You're making sure you're doing the speed limit. Yeah, it's a fair shout. And look, it's a bit of a minor part of this, but end up not really turning out too well for the Webster family. But when his brother and sister, I think, go online and make light of the incident, which those posts have been deleted. I think fair bump, play on, and good night, Jai Simpkin. I think that was some of
I didn't say that.
That was some of the tone of. And I admire. You always defend your family members, particularly if they're copping a lot of stick on social media. In this case, I think that's one you just got to stay silent.
Difficult though, as for
100%. Yeah, families, and if
it's difficult for Jai's family, it'd be
100%. So I understand you're defending your brother and a family member, but
that's what I mean around the dog act. They would know Jimmy Webster, they're his family. They know he's not a bad person. I'm sure he's not a bad person without knowing him, and so you see this, this groundswell of, Jimmy
it's a
Webster.
pile-on.
Yeah, and it's a bad incident. Of course it is. Like, it's not
some of the
something you wanna
stuff
say
said
in
on
the game.
social media.
Just to cool your jets a little bit, Skater. Tell you what, like you and the Beaufort on Saturday night, just cool your jets, please. Now, one last one before we move on to the West Coast and Dockers games on the weekend. We can have a little bit of a review. The All-Australian Committee is changing a little bit. Cameron Ling steps down. Didn't know he was on it still. Stinky Ling.
I think there's about 10 or 12 members of the All-Australian panel, though.
How many All-Australians has Cameron Ling won? Not that should be a
he's won a few
predetermining
flags.
factor. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah. But you don't get All-Australian for being. This is an All-Australian squad. This isn't the Premiership squad. Just wondering how. Hey, if he's won heaps, good on him. I'm just asking how many he'd won. Maybe Nick, you can have a look for us, please. Gil McLaughlin steps down, obviously. I believe Andrew Dillon is on.
Laura Kane
is on. Who?
Well, we've got our West Australian representatives in Matthew Pavlich.
Pav was new last year, wasn't he?
I think so, Pav, and obviously Jacko's been there since I was a kid on the panel. So he loves
hear about it a bit.
Hey,
you hear about Jacko?
Oh yeah, he loves it.
Does he?
And he pushes the WA case of Dockers and Eagles, etc. So I think Jacko enjoys having that title next to his name of All Australian selector.
Just the one All Australian for Cameron Lee. I'm just bringing it up. I'm not.
Is that right? Is it?
Yeah, just the one.
Okay.
So I just thought maybe if you're
none for Andrew Dillon, none for Laura Kane. It's just that's the way. It seems like you're angling for a position in that.
Who? Me?
Would you, if you were asked tomorrow, would you take on that role?
Bloody oath.
Yeah.
I don't think All Australian needs to be predetermined, obviously, because I think watching every game of footy does though. Do
you watch every game of footy?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Do you?
No. I'm being honest.
No, I don't either. But I think if you're in that position, that's a pretty strong position, isn't it? You'd want to make sure you're across everything.
You're up for, and you're never going to get it right. Matthew Richardson said for a long time, it doesn't matter who you put in that team, you're going to cop some flack.
If I see Joel Selwood or Trent Cotchin step onto that, I'm going to spew up. They're well accomplished players that have come out of the game this year, but I feel like they're getting the.
Oh, they'll get
let's
the cream.
Get Joel Selwood on the committee. Let's get.
He'll be next. Moomba. King of Moomba.
Excuse me.
All these accolades they get, like in Melbourne.
King of Moomba.
Moomba. You know Moomba in Melbourne.
Is that where they jump off and they've got a glide? They do the hang gliding?
No, well, it might be, but they have a Moomba Festival. It's big in Victoria. You're a Vic. Come on.
Well, tell me
You never heard of the Moomba Festival. So basically, whether it's Molly Meldrum or might have been Warney back in the day, the King of Moomba. So wear a crown, you go around and everyone loves you. So no, those recently retired players in Melbourne, Jack Revolt, for instance, they get a lot of opportunities.
He's the king of Tasmania at the moment, Jack.
Exactly. So
keeping his cards very close to his chest, the naming of the Tasmanian team. I put it to him over at the Fox Footy thing during the week.
He knows?
Well, he's like running it, mate. He's the guy. He's the ambassador.
Okay.
Yeah, he's one of the guys.
I thought maybe Richo and those guys.
No, don't worry. Jack's head's almost wobbling off at the moment in regards to that matter. Will Schofield, Mark Reddings, Shoulder FootyCast. Sorry, clear the throat. Now, West Coast and Dockers were in action over the weekend. We called one of these apiece. So let's start with the Dockers, shall we?
Yeah, it was a 106-point cumulative loss for both clubs combined at the weekend. I didn't catch much of the Fremantle game, but I think when you go in without Jai Amos and Luke Jackson as your forward weapons,
yes,
that was always going to be an issue. How did you, having called the game on radio, how did you review that from a pre-season and round one perspective?
Yes, there's a few things here. So I think, there were some issues, some pretty easily identifiable issues as well, that I don't think it would have mattered that much if Luke Jackson and Jai Amos played. They had real issues getting field position for starters and get it going their way. Port Adelaide dominated them through the midfield, and they had a really strong midfield in. So did Freo, though. So it looked a little bit of the same there. They were winning the footy back deep like we saw last year, and they were having ball movement issues from their backline like we saw last year. So I kept saying on the coverage, in 2022, Freo, a real hallmark of their footy, I felt, was all that sort of stuff would happen. Sometimes they'd lose the contest, but they'd win the ball aggressively in their backline. They would control it to a point, and then it felt like they just went. They hit someone in the middle and then had guys like Frederick and O'Driscoll and all these wingers just piss bolting out to space, and it was almost like a big explosion. Whereas right now, Freo, I've seen 2 of their games now this year, and what I saw last year, it feels very still closed down. That I don't feel like they have. I don't know if it's the license or if it's the ability or teams are defending it or whatever it is, but they're just getting stuck with the footy, and it creates a lot of issues. And it doesn't matter if Mark Reddings and Will Schofield are lining up at full forward and centre half forward, even though we'd be a lot less than Jai Amos and Josh Tracy, etc. I don't think it matters who's in their forward line. I don't think that's their issue. That wasn't their issue last year. I think their forward line's actually a lot better this year. But this game here, there was some real patterns that I felt kind of flowed on from last year. So in saying all that, what I came out at the end of it was I'd rather have the game they had against Port Adelaide than Port Adelaide's game against the Dockers. I don't think Port Adelaide would have learnt much. They dominated clearance. They did as they pleased a little bit. If you're sitting on Monday, you're not learning a lot. Freo will have what I just spoke about, some really specific learning points that come round 1, they'll have 3 massive focus areas that, hey, we don't want to do this, what we did against Port Adelaide. They looked a little fragile around the contest. I thought Port Adelaide looked stronger, and they looked a bit fumbly. All of those things, they will have been practicing all pre-season. So it can be an anomaly. It really can be. Or you can let it go the other way and be a pattern. So they have a chance come round 1 to make an anomaly and play the way they want to play. We spoke to Caleb Sarong after the game. He spoke about we didn't play our type of footy that we want to play. So clearly they've been practicing something over the preseason that they didn't put into practice in a game scenario.
When it comes to, I mentioned the forwards out, Josh Tracy, are you bullish about him actually coming on? Now, what we have to, let me just preface all this. I think he's only 21 still.
Absolutely.
He's very young, so that feels like he's been in the system for 2 or 3 years.
Exactly right.
So that I'm interested to see how he comes along.
He was the best forward. So in a forward with Luke Jackson and Jai Amos, you're the third best forward.
Yeah.
There's a big difference. I am bullish about his footy. I'm just looking up what the inside 50
Yeah,
counted.
so look at that. And Hayden Young, obviously,
if we get the positives on, Hayden Young.
Yeah, so you and I sort of debated this a bit. You reckon their midfield is their strength. I reckon they need Hayden Young. They need to, whether it's Cooper Simpson eventually, for someone to come in there and give Brayshaw and Sarong support. Fife, 1-2 years left, and we know what he's done pre-season, but can we rely on him playing 20 games this year? Not so sure. I think they need to hopefully have Young develop pretty quickly to give them a bit more depth in the midfield. That's my opinion.
Well, he was their best player. So inside 50 is 56 to 37. You're never going to win a game like that. And that's not to do with the forward line, right? True. They can't do anything if the ball's not inside 50, right? So that was alarming. Positive side of things, Hayden Young was terrific. He had 5 shots on goal. He kicked a little inaccurately, but he was clearly their most attacking midfielder, and he is that. Nat Fyfe on the other side, he had 26 touches, but a lot of inside grunt work, getting the ball out. Brayshaw's the one that, with Fyfe going inside, it's looking like Brayshaw's playing a little bit more outside, a bit more wing time, a little bit more outside footy.
Is that him?
Well, we'll see, won't we? Because Caleb Sarong is an unbelievable clearance player. I think they've looked at that midfield. They need Hayden Young in there because he's their attacking mid. They need Nat Fyfe in there. He probably can't play on the wing. Caleb Sarong's your best clearance player, I reckon. He's just slightly in front of Andy. And then you can't have 4 midfielders in the guts. So they've got to put Andy out somewhere. They'd be playing him on a wing, a little bit half forward, play 5th mid, all of that sort of stuff. I just don't know if that's going to mean Andy Brayshaw has the best year this year. But Freo won't care about that. Freo want their team to have the best year. Do you know what I mean? It's not about Andy Brayshaw having the best year.
But you also want his levels to stay.
You do
at optimum.
You can't have everyone in there though. That's how I would look at it.
There's through the course of a match.
Exactly right.
There's so many different variations of that, aren't there?
Yeah, correct. So Hayden Young was terrific. Their best player. I thought Caleb Sarong had 29 touches. Pat Voss was out of the. So Matty Taberner played. Sam Sturt played as sort of that mid-tall, and Pat Voss played alongside Josh Tracy. Pat Voss was, I thought, encouraging. He was one of their better players in the first half, and I think it's a really good addition they've made. It gives them some depth there. Oscar McDonald, if Cox doesn't get up to play round 1 for Freo, he's going to be just fine. He looks like he can play a role. You'll probably be a little bit more defensive in Freo's backline, but is that a bad thing? Maybe not. You should have some help aerially from a Luke Ryan. Alex Pearce played actually really well. I think his body looks back to its best. So across the board, Dockers, look, they looked quite similar to last year, but it can be an anomaly. You can change that around. So I remember 2018, won the flag. We lost to the Dockers by 100 points at Joondalup in the exact same game. We lost by 100.
Wow. And not too many people apart from yourself would recall that.
No, correct.
Now you bring up
Robert Walls did, and he said we'd win the spoon, and we won the flag. And Robert doesn't work in the media anymore. So that was off the back of that game that he came out and said that.
Few people are predicting the same this year.
Oh, yeah, but you can see Freo's fan base. Yeah. Like I've been on radio over the weekend, and they weren't happy, and they're worried they're falling into the same sort of trap. So I just think Cooley Jets, again, if we use the Mark Reddings analogy at the Beaufort, maybe just have a water in between beers, just calm yourself down. Oh. And I just think for Freo, not panic stations yet. It's going to be okay. Until it's not.
Until you're 0-3, then you start getting a bit nervous.
That is correct. Ollie Wines, just for Port Adelaide side of things, and fantasy players along there. Ollie Wines is just back in the midfield full time. So Brownlow medal type Ollie Wines. He'll be pumping around Zach Butters. He hurt an ankle skeeter. He'll be right for round one, though. Connor Rosé was just incredible. He's an amazing player. Just watching him, he's a level above anyone out there. Like he's
Brownlow medal material, isn't he?
And an update on your favourite player, Cooper Simpson.
Yeah.
I think he could play round one.
Yeah, no, that's
he played all 4 quarters, and for the players that were out, I don't think any of them replace him in the team.
Where does he play?
From the bench, but coming onto half forward, and he'll be maybe a bit of a higher forward with maybe a 2 or 3 CBAs, if that.
Yep.
But he looked good again, and I don't see him coming out with the players they have coming back in. I don't think he gets.
He looks
out.
naturally like he's adjusted pretty well to the tempo and everything that goes with it.
That is correct. That is the Freo update. Skeeter, now I know you watched the West Coast Eagles game. I watched this one on TV, but you were in amongst the action calling it with 6PR. West Coast Adelaide, how did they look in your thoughts?
I think what we saw, and we talked about the injury of Matt Flynn the week prior when he did his hamstring tendon, we saw Riley O'Brien completely dominate the airwaves.
Wow.
34 hit-outs. He had 22 disposals. He just dominated around the ground. Bailey Williams, I think, 1 disposal.
He had 1 touch for the entire game. He was playing in the ruck. I didn't realise that. I was just looking that up.
Yeah.
He had 0 kicks, 1 handball.
Yeah, so that's a pretty
0 marks.
Skinny output. And look, the inside 50s for 55 to
that's
50, 55 to 44. So it wasn't as stark as when I was calling. I thought this just feels like a massive differential. I mean, when you look at this, 32 scoring shots to 15, the Eagles, to me, in positive wise, Tim Kelly. Pretty good. 26 touches,
really
kicked a goal. He's humming along. Elliot Yeo showed, again, at times what he can do.
He's back to what we know him as for the moment.
Absolutely. So there's a couple of positives there. I mean, basically, from an Eagles perspective, and talking to those who follow West Coast, no injuries from what I understand, which is, I know it sounds fairly minor, but in their circumstances, it's critical. So that they got through that way. I think what I struggle to see West Coast improving on is on turnover. They got absolutely carved up in their skills. When they turn it over, they looked very vulnerable going the other way, and the Crows just opened them up time and time again. They've got issues on that front. And I know it's been addressed with the change of strength and conditioning at the club and a new team there, but they just don't look as if they're as fit as their opposition. That's just to the naked eye. Might be 100% wrong. But Matthew Innes, I'm sure they've done a lot of work over the off-season, but they've been beaten by 52-67, 2 pre-season matches, and you talk about the Eagles getting rolled by 100 against Fremantle a few years ago in a pre-season game. I'm finding it really hard to make a case for them being overly competitive, Scully. I know you've thought this for a little while now, having seen them, and more so their injuries, but on the weekend, there was a bit of similarity from what we saw last year. Competitive for periods, but then unable to really run out games as well.
Their list is naked with a few injuries. They have no depth,
yep.
and you can really see it. Quite often at AFL level, your bottom 6 players are the difference. So and to be honest, across all footy levels, everyone has quality. Everyone in the AFL. Tim Kelly, he would start in the midfield for any team in the AFL. right? He's a gun. Elliot Yeo, same thing. Oscar Allen, same thing, right?
Yep.
They have top-end talent. So does everyone. It's your bottom six that, is the big difference maker. West Coast bottom six is that far away from Collingwood's. It's not funny. Like, they have some serious... they've got list issues, and I think they've come out and said that. And I think with a few injuries to key players that would normally be in there, your bottom six turns from, Brady Hoff maybe. Brady Hoff's now in the best 12 players.
Yeah.
He's third year into the club and he's developing, doesn't even know what he's doing because he hasn't been out there for long enough. You get a 6 players back, a Dom Sheed, a Liam Ryan, Oscar Allen didn't play on the weekend, these guys back, and Brady Hoff suddenly becomes one of your worst 6 players, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Right? So I think they've got really, really big list issues, which you can't fix over the night. And the fitness side, I agree with you. But on Matty Innes' defence, and I don't know, I've never met him, but you can't change a list fitness
Just
profile
like
in 3 months.
No, it's true. That's true. Look, and from a positive perspective, and he got through the game, Jack Darling, Jay McGovern also. Darling kicked 2 inside about 60 seconds. And again, the supply wasn't overly great for him, but I think that's all he needed just to get himself right for round 1. Harley Reid, I thought that was the best glimpse we've seen of what he can do, being played more around the footy, and just the composure at times to think his way through congestion. And these are starting obvious that he's a number 1 draft pick. But
it's the eye test, though.
Yeah.
You see lots of young draftees and you look at them and you go, oh, gee, I don't know if he might need a bit of time, or don't know if he quite gets it. You don't have that thought with Harley Reid. He might have 21 week, he might have 30, he might have 10, but you can see he knows what he's doing out there. So.
I don't think he's going to get the Dacos type numbers this year.
No.
He's probably going to be more around that 15 to 20 disposals, and effectively what he does is quality for most part, and then hit the scoreboard occasionally as well. But again, the pressures on the West Coast Eagles as a footy club is to improve, not just on Harley Reid to make a significant on-field difference week in, week out.
I would love for them to be competitive for our sakes, for
100%
fans' sakes, for probably like the players I still know in the building. I would just love to see them compete, and they're gonna lose. Like I said on the live show, I don't think they win more than 3 games this year. But you hope they're in games, and you hope that just maybe their quality isn't good enough so they can't get over the line. I don't know if I can personally take a 3rd year in a row of just absolute drubbings and nowhere near it. Well, and I've got real fears that happens again this year, to be honest.
And I haven't seen the line for round 1 against Port Adelaide, but I think the line would be close. This is talking betting-wise. I think it would be close to 70 points.
Right.
Would that surprise you if I said Port Adelaide minus 70 to win round 1? Or is that being a bit... I mean, it's 12 goals almost.
I'm going to give you it in a second.
Okay. Anyway.
What did you say?
I said it might be 70.
It's 45.
Is it 45?
Scared I might have a little bit of a look at that one, I reckon.
45?
Yeah.
Anyway, look...
You're having a look at that.
They might come out and just surprise us. But you talk about pre-season, they take too much notice of it. We've seen the Eagles against the Dockers. We've seen them now against Adelaide. And, from Adelaide's perspective,
they looked impressive.
They look good. I like them. Riley Thilthorpe, the injury, he's got a bit of a jarred knee. Will probably miss round 1, but no, I think they can play finals. I know we'll make our predictions later in the week, but I think they've got enough quality there to really take that next step. And I thought they were impressive. They had another gear to go to, and I look forward to seeing what they can produce this year with some of their stars.
Dawson, Laird, these guys. Rankin looked really exciting. He played a bit more midfield time.
Kicked 4 goals. He was...
Rochelli's that, I think Rochelli and Rankin still play a bit of a tag team in there. They'll send Rankin in and then Rochelli and then swap them over. You don't see them in there together that much because you've got to fit in a Laird and a Dawson and a Crouch. They've got a young team, but they've got a pretty decent core now. And I liked what I saw from Adelaide just from a ball movement point of view. The contest, like West Coast say they've improved there, but Adelaide really owned them in that regard.
Yeah.
And Riley O'Brien looked very good.
Yeah, albeit he had it his own way. And he had other ruckmen, including Livingston, who's still just a little giraffe, really, just finding his feet.
And I don't mind him, though.
Yeah, no, he's got some things to learn, but also...
Harry Barnett.
So Harry Barnett, I think that's the first time I've seen him live. And,
Ruckman.
Ruckman.
You're going to see the best of him when he's 25 years old.
Yeah, so what are we, 3 or 4 years away from watching him if not dominate, certainly be really competitive at that level.
Will Schofield, Mark Redding, Shelter FootyCast. Just a few other issues over the weekend to skim through here, Skeeter, just for a bit of a chat. Jordan Ridley signed a big deal during the week last week. A good friend, Kane Corns, had a bit to say about that. Look, I've got to say I agree with a fair bit that Kane Corns says, and I agree with this one too. He had 2 or 3 years remaining, and Essendon extended him out to like a 6-year deal, and Kane was quite critical of that. And on the weekend, he's gone and done a quaddie, which he had issues with last year. So we did a quad, which ended his season last year.
When he said quaddie, I thought he was talking racing there for a second. But
Get your head out of your bank account, Skeeter. You're just absolutely rattled by the 45.5 points on offer for West Coast Eagles right now. Now, Jordan Ridley, it's come back. They're not serious. It's not a serious quad. So a quaddie can be, hammy 3 to 4 weeks unless it's a tendon. It's just set and forget. Quaddie's a bit more different, a bit more of a complex muscle, Skeeter.
Yeah, no. But the original point you make was about with such a long time to go in his current contract, then they extend it.
Him,
yeah. Look, is that just simply because of free agency and what but mind you, contracts aren't exactly cast in stone.
Yeah, correct. Someone mentioned to me that perhaps it's to do with the Tassie side of things. That in 4, 5, 6 years time,
wow,
right? We're going to have a new team in the competition that's going to have a lot of money and it's going to be splashed around. Colby McKercher, the number 2 draft pick from Tassie.
Yes.
He's getting, mate. I was thinking he's going to be 24 years old when his state. He's going to be the captain of that side.
He'll be prime.
And he'll be on 1.5.
Yeah.
But there will be guys around the competition at a certain age group that maybe teams are starting to look at. Do I think that's true? Maybe not. I think the point you make is probably better, mate. These contracts, like Jordan really could just say with 2 years to go, I just want to go to Carlton.
Yeah.
Thanks, so.
Yeah, I don't quite see the fuss. I mean, I agree with Kane Corns in essence. Why are you signing them up? It looks good on paper. It says they're here till 2029, but we all know that if it's Tassie or some other moment where they've they're interstaters and they have a desire to go home because of family issues, and these things happen.
Yeah, we've got round 0 coming up, which we'll be doing a full preview on Thursday.
Well, I'll be doing a preview. You've got a nice start to the round 0 for you. It's just easing away into the year. Is that right, Scully?
Yeah, that is correct, Skeeter. But I have full trust in that you can run the ship here at the Shelter FootyCast.
Hammer and I'll be fine.
Terrific job. Round 0, but it's Monday and it's just ticked over 10 a.m. over in Melbourne. Melbourne are already announcing debutants for their first game, which is on Thursday. Are they playing Thursday
night, Sydney.
Caleb Windsor, number 7 pick, will debut for Melbourne, as well as
no, just quickly saw just one highlight, but I saw one highlight of Windsor last weekend, I think it was.
Is he good? I haven't seen any.
Yeah, no, he's got some wheels and. Yeah, just that's exciting because he looked like a player that, given that, what Melbourne's gone through negatively over the last month or two, this is a positive for them.
Blake Howes will debut as well. He's a young wingman. And Jack Billings will make his debut. I'm pretty bullish on Jack Billings and what he can do at Melbourne this year. I think he's a very good player at St Kilda. Don't think his style quite suited them. I think it'll suit Melbourne nicely. Melbourne putting the team sheets in on a Monday? Like, what's happening?
Yeah, well, that's like...
we're only 3 days out, though, so...
Like England naming their test team, a week out. No, that's... I think from a Demons perspective, Clayton Oliver's going to travel with the team, which means he'll play.
Apparently, yes. So Demons coach Simon Goodwin said Oliver was ready to go for opening round clash at the SCG on Thursday night.
Yeah, massive, isn't it? Look, lots expected of Sydney, but they've got some injuries anyway. We'll discuss that later, but they're probably the one team that has got a massive... question mark over their ability to handle the off-field noise that's surrounded them during the summer, and we know they've got quality, but how will they handle it? That's going to be the fascinating story of this weekend. Yeah,
I don't know how they will. A couple of other things I saw over the weekend. Riley Sanders looked very good for the. You know who he plays for? Western Bulldogs. You did know that. I knew you knew that. Number 6 draft pick. He looks very good. Socks up type operator. Black boots type operator.
Old school.
Yeah, I don't know if it suits the young lad, but he looks like a good footballer. I can tell you that. So they played in one of the simulations over the Hawks. Bit of an interesting one with Hawthorn Bulldogs. I watched most of that game. Hawthorn really fought back towards the middle of the game and almost hit the lead at 3/4 time. Pretty strong breeze down there. There was blowing from side of the oval to the side of the oval. But the Bulldogs looked pretty good. Like, I like them. Sanders will debut when they first play. Excuse me for not knowing the exact schedule of this weekend. They don't play this weekend, I don't think.
No, they don't.
But I thought he looked pretty good.
Well, they're a team on paper that should be playing finals and should be challenging for the top four if you get their forward structure right. Bailey Smith's a big loss, but yeah, well, you'd think, Hawthorn's still an emerging, developing team, so that was no surprise that the Bulldogs got hold of them.
That is correct. So, look, there's some big stuff coming up this weekend. I'm going to do my best to give you my predictions for the season, Skeeter. I'll put them together in a bit of a package and I'll mail them into you for Thursday. How does that sound?
Okay.
Look, I want to go through top 8 predictions. Who's sliding? Who's rising? I want Rising Star.
Brownlow.
I want Brownlow. I want Coleman's. I want
the full box and dice.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Because last year, look, did I hit any of those? No, I did not.
No. I think I tipped Brisbane to win the flag. Did I get that? No. Was I far off? No. But these things happen,
You were riding Brisbane off the entire year last year.
I was really pissed with I was pissed with their form away from the Gabba.
Because you bet against them. Probably.
And then, because I tipped them, I think, a few times. No, but so there's that. You thought Geelong could go back to back. Can Collingwood do it? Well, we'll give you our thoughts later in the week.
Make sure this is your last opportunity to enter the Travel and Sports Australia giveaway for 2 tickets on the West Coast plane to Port Adelaide, 2 tickets to the game as well. You'll have to speak to Simo about sleeping arrangements. Not sure where you're going to do that. But Travel and Sports Australia, good friends of the podcast, are giving those away. So make sure you jump onto our social, Shelter FootyCast. There's a link in the bio there. Or you can jump onto backchatstudios.com.au. Pop-up will take you where you need to go. You need to be following Travel and Sports Australia on Instagram, following the Shelter FootyCast, and the code word, which is within the show on Friday last week. It's pretty deep. I'll give you the hint.
Yeah, no.
Remember? I forgot about it.
It's about as superficial as going on.
Very good. Skeeter, that's us done and dusted for the day.
It is. Just one thing as we leave you.
Yes.
Still, has there been any progress on the nudie run around after last year's?
As I promised,
yeah.
It will be produced before the start of round 0.
So the next 2 or 3 days.
Does that excite you, Skeeter?
No, it doesn't, but I just want to see if you can come up with a result after promising for so long.
Thanks for listening. Mark Reddings, Will Schofield. We'll see you Thursday.